But it's a very old boat. The boat itself is 54 years old and was originally a fishing trawler, and then was converted when Greenpeace bought it in 1989. They put the masts on, these very high masts. They go up to 36 meters high, and that's how we sail. Well, this ship compared to a normal ship, there's not there's one big difference is we have the sails. So that's the largest contributor to energy efficiency, because when we are at sea we are actually sailing, and sometimes we don't use the engine at all. We open and set the sails with this. Once the sails are out, we use all these lines, and we move the booms, but that's all by hand, using the winch, going round and round and round and round and round. So this is partly electric with motors, but a lot of manual for adjusting the sails. To set all the sails maybe takes 2 people, 3 people, but then you do it slower. But if you have all the crew out, which is if it's daytime, then I'll just bring all the crew out and we'll set the sails. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or midnight, then we'll adjust them just by ourselves, just the mate and because then it's adjusting them. If there's going into difficulty, then we can ring the alarm and get the crew out if there's a storm suddenly coming. These are when we go in our small boats, they're inflatables. This is what we'll be wearing. Protection and warmth and safety. We also wear often these hats if we're going into action, because people throw shackles and metal objects from the ships. And this is the hold of the ship. This was once upon a time it used to be a fishing boat. This was where they would keep the fish and all the nets and things. And this is where we paint up banners and things. And these are some of the old banners. This one probably would have been painted by people in Australia to welcome the ship. But many of them we paint ourselves, and we paint them all inside here. This one here is actually not a Greenpeace banner. That's an MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières. And the reason we have this is because there was a war between Israel and Lebanon. And we, during that war, carried medicines to Beirut and to Lebanon. On the boat we take, maximum people is 30 people. We have space for 30 people to sleep in all the cabins, which is the bedrooms. But we always carry twice the amount of safety equipment as there are people. So we have space for 60 people. If the ship boat sank, there's space for everybody to be in. Well, this is actually a wind indicator, just so actually there's very little wind today. It's coming from that direction a little bit off the stern, but there's not really actually any wind. But we can sail on this boat, the closest to the wind is 60 degrees. So if we want to get somewhere upwind, we've got to go like that. Backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards to get up. Or we can use the engine. And this is for the engine. You can go ahead, and stop, and go astern. And switch off. And we have other equipment like this is an echo sounder. It tells you the depth under the keel, under the ship, how much water there is. And we have our radios for people to. And we have the compass outside. We had a magnetic compass I was telling you about, but this is a gyro, so it's electronic, and it gives you the true north. So, that's how we have to navigate with compasses: north, south, east, west. And for steering, that's a lovely big steering wheel, but the steering wheel on the bridge is not as interesting. Mostly we'll use this for steering the ship from inside. So you go like this. And this is a GPS, so we can simply tell where we are using a GPS, which is very easy. But when we are on the land, we always navigate. We don't use GPS when we're close to the land. because it's more precise and safer to use distances with the radar, and we will do positions on the chart by hand with pencil. We have an instrument which we use for celestial navigation. What we do with this is it's just called a sextant, and it's used for navigation. And what it's used for is to find the altitude, the height of the celestial body, which could be a star, a planet, or even the sun, above the Earth. And you measure that's the height of the sun or of a star using this by reflecting the sun and measuring the angle through the sextant. And using these and calculations, you can work the position of the ship. And we do that not when we're in port, obviously, but we do this when we're at sea, especially crossing an ocean. For years and years I've just navigated with the sextant. Nowadays it's much easier, you can go with the GPS. And then you have the young upstarts like the second mate who prefers to use a computer using the sextant, the height, and then he puts it into a computer and tells you where you are. I use the book with all the numbers still. This is the actually original telescope from the Rainbow Warrior 1, which was bombed by the French. But we use it because it has a long field, and so you can get the distances better, whereas the other ones are normal, they're a bit shorter. But this one, when you want to see something really precise, I will use this. It's really heavy. It's so old. This is the radio room. This is where all the communications, this is like a big server. So it gives us all our internet. We have internet even when we're crossing an ocean. So we can do a lot of work, and we can send video footage. We have 2 satellites, but the one specifically is for the internet, and the other one is if that one breaks down. They're different types. So this is the mess room. This is where all the crew we eat, and we have meetings, we watch video in the evening if we want, we play guitars. This is the pointy bit of the boat. It's called the bow, the front part of the ship. And this is where all the dolphins come. I don't know if you've been on a boat and you've seen when you go through the water at sea, the dolphins often come to the front and they swim in front of the ship. This is a story about Dave the dolphin. A long time ago, just when the ship was about to begin, this Rainbow Warrior was sailing, and all the crew, we always come here and we put our heads through and we look to see the dolphins swimming. And the dolphins were looking up and they saw the crew, and the one dolphin, the little baby dolphin, was called Dave, and he said, "Oh, that looks so lovely. That just looks like such a happy ship, such nice people. I want to be on the Rainbow Warrior." So he asked his mother and father, and they said, "No, you can't, Dave. You can't be on the boat because you're a dolphin." So Dave swam to the side of the ship to the bridge and saw the captain. And the captain said, and he asked the captain, "Can I join the ship?" And the captain said, "Oh, Dave, you can't join. You're a dolphin, you belong in the water." And so Dave thought, no, this isn't good enough. He really wants to join the Rainbow Warrior. So he swam all the way to the bottom of the sea, and there lives with the King Neptune. And he asked King Neptune, "King, can I please, I really want to become one of the crew on the Rainbow Warrior." And King Neptune said, "Oh, no, Dave, I don't think you can because you're a dolphin. But let me think about it. Come back tomorrow morning." And so the next morning came, and Dave came back, and King said, "Oh, I've been thinking about it, and I think there's one way. And the only way, I remember a story about a man who made a little boy out of wood, and it turned it to real life. Maybe I can do the same with you, but the opposite way around. If I turn you to wood, you can be on the Rainbow Warrior." And Dave so wanted to be on the Rainbow Warrior, he said, "Yes, please." And so King Neptune turned Dave into wood, and he put a little crystal inside the middle of Dave. And then he gave it to the crew, and the crew put him here. So Dave has been sitting here on the Rainbow Warrior for 22 years, pointing the way forward, giving us direction. On board the boat there's about 16 crew from I think it's 13 or 14 nationalities. I often have to count. Florin from Romania, who's the electrician. Tamina from Taiwan. Dan, the chief mate, from England. Mir from Panama. And Neil from Australia. That's Penny, she's the bosun, she's the leader of 16 crew. Tim from Thailand. Chao from China, which I think you met earlier. Marty from Finland, he's the third mate. Robert from Czech Republic, he's the second mate. Manuel from Austria. Daniel from Argentina, new captain. Well, from a historical point of view, I think I would say it's the protesting to stop nuclear weapons testing, and that's because the Greenpeace started in 1971 protesting Americans testing nuclear weapons, and it went on. In 1985, the first Rainbow Warrior was bombed in New Zealand because it was protesting weapons. This same boat has been through many big activities, direct actions, protesting nuclear weapons, and then finally, in the late 90s, they abolished atmospheric nuclear weapons testing, and the Pacific Ocean is now there's no nuclear weapons. So that is probably one of the biggest victories of the Rainbow Warrior.